what's happening, people? Well, you know what? We got a really important topic today. So my guest is Mitch Francis, and he's got a book out called Badass Solutions. So what's that all about? Well, the topics that we're going to hit on are going to be a little bit about population, but drug use, homelessness, global warming, or climate change. So a lot of these important topics that are somewhat controversial. So what do you think? Do you believe in any of this stuff? Is it really happening? Put it in the comments and let me know and let everybody else know so we can open up this discussion, have a dialogue. But before we get going, remember, if you're a pet owner, please be responsible and have your pets spayed or neutered. All right, let's get into it.
Welcome to Amazing People, Amazing Things with your host, Chuck the Talk.
Mitch Francis, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Not just me, us, because you've got this badass book called Badass Solutions.
I do.
So, as it says, it's a nonpartisan book, and it really addresses a lot of the critical things that's happening now, happened in the past, and hopefully we can find a way to resolve it. But I'm going to put you in like a presidential hot seat because apparently you've got some answers to a lot of these things.
I do, Chuck. Yeah, that's my thing. I do have some solutions.
And we want to know it because some of these things are really hot topics, especially when you're talking about destroying every assault rifle out there within this 30-day period, and then how to treat this homeless problem. It's more than a problem. It's an epidemic, it seems like, in some cities.
It is. It's horrifying, and I've got 20 real major problems like what you've just enumerated, and actual doable, logical solutions for them.
Well, we are going to cover some of those things, maybe all, but we'll probably do some. We're going to leave a number of those things so people don't go, hey, I know everything Mitch has to say. What do I need to go out and get this book or go to his website?
Don't do that.
We don't want that. No. But we're going to touch on some of these critical points. But I want to get this out front. People could go to your website, and that's going to be bad-asssolutions.com. Right. Okay. So it's the title of the book as well. So again, Mitch Francis, welcome. Give me some solutions.
Well, thanks, Chuck. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah.
One of the issues that I think is troubling, and it's in the news a lot, we kind of see it every day, is about the rising ocean levels because of global warming. And it's just this huge problem. We're actually, it's interesting. Last month, this was all over the news. Last month was the hottest temperatures on Earth in recorded history for the whole planet. And we're headed for a socioeconomic catastrophe, unlike anything that the human race has ever seen before. It might sound pretty alarming, but I don't think I'm underplaying this.
No.
With the global warming is causing the polar ice caps to melt at a rate that would fill 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools every second.
That's crazy.
It's insane to think about that volume of water every second. By the end of this century, all coastal cities and islands will be flooded. And it seems to actually be increasing in speed of the melting rate. So it's serious. What's amazing is nobody's doing anything about this, but we can. We can actually stop the ocean levels from rising, and at the same time, actually use all that fresh water for the billions of people living on our planet in desperate need of need of fresh water and food in the most parched areas of our world. And that's I think one of the most really exciting solutions that I've got on the book is that this can be solved.
Wow. You know, I'm sitting here thinking, going, do I call Mitch Dr. Doom and Gloom? No,
No.
no, but you know, you're absolutely right. But one of the issues that I have with this global warming is not that itself, but when I talk to friends, when I talk to people, they say, "Oh, it's not warming, it's not this, it's not that," because they're thinking in their head just about warming, and I like to refer to it as climate change because it can affect some areas might be colder, others warmer. But then when you talk about this, they go, "Oh, what's 1/10 of a degree? What's 0.9% of a degree? That's a lot. That's a lot when you're talking about
You know,
the global
when the
thing."
Earth was just 4 degrees warmer, it was entirely covered by water in 4 degrees. So you're absolutely right, Chuck. You know, if you're interested, I'll give you some specifics about the solution, about how we do this.
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, I discovered something interesting. With all the water that we just talked about, that would fill 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools every second. The water, that water from melting ice, is actually just a small fraction of the water that's going into the oceans from just our 20 largest rivers.
Hmm.
So the rivers are fed by rain and snow, and they get full of water, and they deliver water down their path, and whatever's not used or distributed ends up in the ocean. But that's an enormous amount of water. If we just channel 7% of the water, again, in just our 20 largest rivers, 7%, and move that water to arid lands, we can actually stop the ocean levels from rising and also stop hunger and thirst on our planet. It's an amazing thing. We can, I hate to say this, but we can save this planet and its
Uh,
inhabitants.
yeah, yes, because I know that a lot of people may think about this, but they don't believe it. But then they hear and watch things, and I'm going to use the river, the Nile, and Egypt. They talked about in the past how that river flourished the land around it, and there's green, not pure desert like we see now. And I think what happens is with the global warming and change in the temperature in the ocean, that's going to affect the environment
Oh yeah.
within the ocean. And then what does that mean? I don't know how much fish we eat around the world, but it's going to shorten our food for
Oh
people.
yeah. Yeah. What we just talked about is actually solving one of the results of global warming, of climate change, or whatever you're more comfortable calling it. But this is a result. The result is the rising ocean, but we still
Hmm.
have the problem. We still have a lot of problems, as that are being caused by climate change. And you're right. The temperature of the oceans going up, changes fish migrations, where they can actually live, changes ocean currents, changes weather patterns. We are really, making our planet suffer, and of course our people suffer as a result of global warming or climate change. But it's happening.
Hmm.
So if we can stop the progression of the heating of the planet, that's optimal. That really helps, but that's going to take a long time,
Yeah.
and it's good. We're not making enough progress more quickly enough that's going to avoid these problems. So when I looked at this, I said, I'm not going to be able to solve the cause of climate change. You know,
Right.
everybody's working on that, and it's going to take a lot of time. If we all got electric cars tomorrow, it wouldn't change. We don't even have the electricity to charge all the electric cars if we all had them. We don't have the infrastructure for delivering the electricity. And I'll tell you something amazing. We don't think about this. We don't talk about it, but your power company that you're going to use to charge your electric car at night, it's burning oil and gas and
Yeah.
coal to produce electricity. So we're really far away from solving the problem, the reason for global warming, for climate change. So my best hope in doing something was to attack one of the bigger problems for humans, and that is going to be in a very short time the coastal cities and islands being flooded. And we're talking about
Yeah.
tens or 20, scores of millions of people being displaced. And think of the economic impact to our planet, to our governments, to our countries of that kind of loss. It's unprecedented. So when I said we're headed toward, this major catastrophe on a global scale and being one of the greatest horrors in mankind's history, it really could be that bad.
I believe you in that. And, one of the things I'm thinking about is we need to be able to somehow change the mindset of people because I believe there's a lot of people that say, well, the planet's going to heal itself. It always has in the past. It's always going to, or, I'm not going to worry about it because it just takes so long. So why do I even need to start worrying
No,
about it?
you're so right, and I totally agree. The Earth will heal itself, but we won't be here to see it.
Right.
That's the thing. And you were funny earlier calling me like Doctor Doom. Just to the contrary. Every one of my solutions is to make things better, to
Yeah.
make lives of people better and safer, and that's my goal. And I think that my aim here, and even if people would enjoy reading the book, they'll enjoy it. It's kind of fun, it's interesting, and it's optimistic. Here, yeah, we have these problems, but all of our politicians and the news people, they're running around with their hair on fire about these problems and not solving them.
Yeah.
And solutions are optimistic, and hopeful. So that's where I am with this, Chuck.
Well, I'm glad you are out there to really push this agenda. And like I said, I'm treating this as you are a presidential candidate type of situation. So, because these are the hot topics right now. Really,
They are.
there's one thing I want to move to a couple of other topics. But I'm going to mention, but we don't have to talk about it because I want people to be able to go to your site and do stuff. But you talk about how to how to destroy every assault rifle in 30 days. So people go out there. But what I want to touch on is the housing issue that we have right now, the mental illness, because that that's a problem that we all see everywhere. So what's going on?
Well,
What can we do?
y- you know, how can we be a great society when we don't take care of our poorest, most desperate people? I don't think we can. Um,
Right?
it's a nightmare to see so many Americans suffering, living on our streets, living in tents. Yeah, think if they're lucky. Um, and a little research on this pointed some things out to me that again just shocked me. Chuck, it looks like we have about 500,000 people that are homeless living on the streets.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a huge number. But let me change the perspective of that. We have 335 million Americans. If you look at this as a percentage, we're talking about 17% of 1% of our population is homeless. That's that's a
Pers-
tiny, tiny, tiny
yeah.
percentage.
Yeah.
We don't think of things in these terms, but maybe I'm screwed, I'm kind of screwy because I do try to look at things from a kind of an accurate perspective, or the way things really are, not, oh, there's this massive problem we can never solve. But if we say this is actually a tiny, tiny percentage of Americans who are homeless, And then if we say, well, how much would it cost us for every one of those 500,000 people to house them, to feed them, to provide them with medical care, to provide them with training so that they could get off the streets, they could be productive citizens and work if they're capable, of course.
Right.
And if we said, okay, would $25,000 a year for every one of those 500,000 people, would that do it? Well, and how much are we talking about? And we're talking about roughly $10 billion. Just do the math. And that's like an accounting error from the Federal Reserve on a day of not paying its interest on our debt. What if it was double that? What if it's 50,000? We can do this. We have this amazing economy, this amazing country with assets and the will to take care of the people who are desperate and need help. And in doing so, we have a lot of people who need retraining, who need jobs.
Yeah.
We have immigrants who need to work. We have poor Americans who need retraining from the jobs they do that are obsolete. Well, if you have people who need to be housed and fed and given medical care and training, you need a lot of people. You're going to employ a lot of people. And even some of those very people you're helping, they can help with food service for themselves and their neighbors. They can help with taking care of the grounds of a building. There's all kinds of job opportunities in what I'm talking about of helping Americans that are on the streets, that we have to get off the streets. And I think, again, it comes down to, do we have the will? Because we have the money. We have the money.
Yeah.
And I think we have the manpower to make this happen. So why isn't it happening? Let's make it happen.
Can I be the devil's advocate on this part
Yeah.
with the homelessness? So, there are, at least in my area and the Seattle area, there are people who are homeless and there are opportunities, but they turn the opportunity down. They don't want to be. And then you have the situation where you said, we have enough funds to where we can give these people $25,000, $30,000 a year to get them off the street. Then you can have other people.
You give them money.
Okay.
No. You give them food and shelter. You don't give them money to go spend.
So, okay. Now, Seattle does that. And I can't, my numbers are off. I know that, but I think it was something like $200 million in 10 years is what was spent, or even shorter amount of time, but it's something like $200 million. Then you go, well, where did it go? What's happening to that money? If I did the math, I'd go, shoot, that means every single person that's homeless in the city can get $50,000. Hey, I just had to throw this in here right now rather than waiting to the end or do any type of, real fact checking. But some of you probably are going, what's Chuck saying? $200 million spent in the city of Seattle for homelessness in 10 years or so? Sorry, I was off on that. In fact, there's some stuff out there that says that the city of Seattle in 10 years has spent about $1 billion, and others have shown that it's as high as $1.4 billion. And the other thing that's just crazy about this, I'm reading this little report here that says that according to a report by Crosscut, King County has spent over $5 billion in King County on homelessness and housing programs between 2013 and 2023. That blows my mind. But where is it? What happened? It sounds like there's a lot of political stuff possibly in the background.
Well, I don't think you give money to these people. No,
Okay.
I think you give housing, support, medical care, job training, and food. But you don't just give them money. You know,
Good.
these are people who, for whatever reason, and certainly this is without blame, they're not successful in our economy, in our system. They fell through the cracks. They need help. So you don't just throw money to them and say, "Oh yeah, go. This is gonna. Here's money, and you're going to know exactly what to do with it. To have your life perfect again." But if they're treated with respect and dignity and have opportunities to survive and survive well and possibly even to be a contributor to the society of America, how great would that be? So it's frustrating,
Great.
and it's a big ass problem. So we need a badass solution, and we all have to try. It's kind of one of these things where some of the problems are so big that we all think, well, what can I do? This is too big. How can I help on this? But we can. We can say, well, if this is only 17% or 1% of our population, I'm going to write to my Congress people. I'm going to tell my family and get them to write to the Congress people and say,
Yeah.
here's a solution. We can fix this and make a difference and start telling other people. And Mahatma Gandhi had a fantastic quote that I kind of live by in this, and particularly with this book, and that is, when the people lead, the leaders will follow. So we can all make a big difference, and we all need to.
We do. And I hope you don't mind that we stay on this topic a little bit longer. I mean, all these topics are really, I don't want to say near and dear, but they are very important to me
Mhm.
and to many other people. But sticking with this homelessness, there are, I'm only going to use what I know in my demographic, in my area. There are those who don't want to integrate back into society. What do we do with them? And then also the other thing is there are many of them who are mentally ill. If they are not mentally ill when they become homeless, I believe they become mentally ill because of the position that they are in.
Yeah.
How do we address that?
Again,
Sorry.
but you know what's interesting? The state of California
Hmm.
just came up with a couple solutions to this, believe it or not, which I'm thrilled about. Uh, the part, again, it kind of goes in a couple different directions. One is for people who are mentally ill, who need that kind of help. Up until literally a couple of months ago, it was not possible to commit someone to an institution for more than 3 days without their own approval. And
Hmm.
there's a quirk of mental illness that people don't don't typically agree that they have a problem, and they don't typically agree that they need help or medication. So they live on the street because the alternative of getting medication and psychiatric help is something they don't believe they even need. It's a
Yeah.
big problem. But this new law that was passed by California actually says that with really strong protection, so it's not abused, the government and families and police officers can get people who need this help and get them their help where they can actually get. It sounds draconian because we don't want to put people into an institution beyond, without their consent. We just don't. That doesn't feel comfortable. But like you said, they don't want to get off the street. They don't want to get help. They just want what we would interpret as suffering on the
Hmm.
street as their life. But we say that's not acceptable. We say we have the means to help you, even though you don't even think you need help. So here's a mechanism to allow us to get people who really need mental support, get them off the street, get them taken care of. Maybe they integrate back into society. That's always the hope, of course. But here's California saying we got to do something. We just can't leave people on the street, living on the street and the sidewalks and in doorways of stores. And it's hard to say, but it impacts everybody else.
It does.
And
Yeah.
if you own a store, you don't want your customers to have to walk over bodies to get into your store. It's bad all the way around. So here we have some tools that kind of combat the restrictions that we've had for decades of not being able to tell people, well, you it's against the law for you to sleep on the street now. So as long as we have a place for you to go, you're not allowed to sleep on the street or in the parks or on the sidewalk or on a bench or in a doorway. And that's what's happening in California. And I really applaud what they're trying to do. There's not, it's underfunded. It's really kind of tiptoeing into this thing, but they're saying, no, I'm sorry, you don't have the right to sleep overnight and defecate and urinate wherever you want. And that's against the trend of what we've had for decades. And when you're sounding frustrated, I think we all are. I think we're all. What do we do about this? How do you force somebody, to go take shelter? Well, we have the ability to make laws. We have the ability to make laws that are for hopefully the benefit of all people and the very people who we're trying to help. We just have
What
to bite
about
that bullet.
some of these cities who have, for the lack of my knowledge and terminology on this, enacted laws or an ordinance where they have the mentally ill or drug addict who's homeless on the streets, but they provide them with the drugs. Oh, there are some of the cities that do that. It's like, oh, you're a heroin addict. Well, we don't want you shooting up on the corner by that store. So come over here, get in our van, and we will provide you with the heroin, and you can sit here for 20 minutes, and then you could walk off and leave.
I
It's
at best, that's a band-aid, and
mm-hmm.
it's not. It's really not solving anybody's problem, for more than a few minutes. So
Right.
I don't think that's a good idea. Um, I, I I think that there are solutions for the drug problem in our country that is absolutely massive, and that's not it.
Yeah, it's not. I want to ask you, Mitch, because you're so passionate about all of this. What brought you to this point about being so passionate about all of these um, all of these bad ass problems?
Well, I'm a business guy. I have a 40-year business background. I founded and was CEO of publicly traded companies on the stock market, private companies. I developed commercial buildings and still own and manage commercial real estate throughout the U.S. And I developed, as any business person has to, you develop problem-solving skills because every step of the way toward your goal, every business person has roadblocks thrown in their way.
Yeah.
Every step. Believe me, you know this. I know you do. And you've got to be able to go over them, through them, around them, whatever it takes to solve it, to get around it and reach your goals. And excuse me. And as a result, I developed these problem-solving skills. And that takes me to a couple years ago. You may recall that there was a mass killing in a suburb of Chicago on the 4th of July. A crazed young man with assault rifles killed 7 people at a 4th of July parade. And one of those people he killed was my brother-in-law's brother, with whom I'm very close. And of course, the family was devastated. This was a great guy, just everybody loved him. He was brilliant. He was fun. He was just a fantastic guy. Uh, I was hurt. I was angry. And I started looking around. And Chuck, I saw all these problems that we have in our country and to some degree the whole world. And I said, I've got to get involved. I've got to do something. I can't just sit and let all this happen. And I'm kind of a news guy, current events. And as things come up, I think, well, this would take care of that problem, And and I decided, I've got a lot of solutions on the top of my head for a lot of problems. I'm just going to do an outline. And I did an outline and I finished it. I went, there are 20 major problems that I have solutions for, at least the beginning of solutions. This is a book. And I had no intention of writing a book, Chuck, just none at all. And that's what this became, in a relatively short time. That was just 2 years ago.
Well, I'm glad you decided to do this. And what I want to add to this is, I know a lot of people, a lot of us, we don't take action until it directly affects us. But what we all need to realize that every single one of these issues does directly affect us. You can say indirectly, but no, it directly does affect us.
Well,
So,
you're so right.
so we really need to open our eyes and take ownership and really start doing it. Doesn't mean that you have to try to solve or do something for every single one of these 20 topics, 20 issues. Pick one, do something.
Please. Absolutely right. Get passionate about something, and,
Yeah.
here are 20 possibilities. And if it's not any one of these, find your own passion, get other people involved, get your government involved. And what's cool? There are also nonprofit organizations for like everything. And
Yeah.
if you have a passion, you can find great organizations who need help. They need your body. They need your mind. So yeah, you can get involved.
You know what? For those of you out there, the audience, if you say, well, I don't know what to do, I don't know what this, that, I don't know where, use your darn chat GPT, AI, and type in, what are the issues in America or whatever it might be? Or, give me 10 different things on population. Something would trigger an interest or a passion, I think.
No, you're right. And I agree so much that my last chapter is, okay, what do we do now? How do you get involved? And it's kind of a step by step of, here's how you can get involved and make a difference.
Again, folks, you're listening to Mitch Francis. He is the author of Badass Solutions, and it is a nonpartisan book. You don't go left or right or anything like that. So don't be afraid because of that. Your friend's not going to look at you and go, "Oh, you're an extremist over on that side." No, it's not. This is global problems. It is local problems that affect you, me, us. Once again, it's bad-asssolutions.com. Mitch, before we close out, is there anything that you want to add to encourage the people to make a difference or change?
I think we live in tough times. I think people are often frightened and scared about the world we're living in right now and maybe their own circumstances. And it's incredible how healing it is to help other people. You help yourself. And we've said during this podcast, that you can get involved and do it, but make this about you. Get involved
Yeah.
for you. You'll feel better. That's it.
That's a great way to think about it. Is it's do it for yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It,
Mitch,
it feels good. When you help somebody else, you give a homeless person $5, and they can buy a meal. It feels good to you.
Hey, when somebody smiles, a stranger at you,
That's right.
how does it make you feel? At first you might go, huh? And then, but you kind of like, hey, you feel good.
Yes, truly.
And a lot of these things doesn't cost you, doesn't cost me, doesn't cost, a lot of times it doesn't cost anything to do. You just have to do. You have to start.
Right.
So
Good.
thank you very much for your time. And now I'm gonna go and ask AI what I can do to start making a
What
difference.
a great thing that is.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Thanks for having me, Chuck. I enjoyed this very much.
You're welcome, Mitch. Thank you.
Yeah.